Every time I post a video about serial murder, I can count on one thing. Someone in the comments is gonna say something like, what about gang members who kill multiple people? Or, hey, King Von was basically a serial killer.
Was he though?
Or a hitman kills dozens, so why is he not a serial killer? So today, I wanna take that comment seriously. Why are mafia hitmen, contract killers, and gang members who kill multiple people not considered serial killers?
I think a lot of people have the wrong idea of what a serial killer is. I think that's the problem. Y'all think a serial killer is just somebody that's, got multiple bodies. It's deeper than that. I'm pretty sure he's gonna break it down though, so let me shut my ass up.
Why does criminology separate those categories? Why do the FBI and virtually every expert in homicide studies insist on keeping them distinct? And why do people in the audience, people in the comments, people even in documentaries still instinctively blend those categories together? And I want to talk about King Von too, because if I don't mention him, the comments are certainly going to do it for me anyway. Let's start where we kind of have to start. What is a serial killer?
Please explain.
Not a movie version. I mean the actual criminological definition that researchers use when analyzing behavior across hundreds of cases. Because without that baseline, everything else falls apart. A serial killer is someone who kills multiple victims in separate events spread across time. Some places say 2 or more, others say 3 or more. There's a cooling off period between the murders. There's a return to daily life. There's a psychological component driving the murders. The motive is internal and personal. And most importantly, the murders are not committed for financial gain, not for drugs, not for gang retaliation, not for mafia business, not for territory.
So automatically, King Von is not a serial killer. Automatically. Since we know the definition, he's not.
The murders exist because the killer wants to kill. The murder itself is the goal. It's the source of the pleasure, fantasy, and compulsion. And what do we do with someone like Jeffrey Dahmer? He's absolutely, unquestionably a serial killer, right? There's no debate there. But Dahmer himself said repeatedly that the murder was not even the part he wanted. He did not enjoy the killing. He said the goal was to keep someone with him, to possess them, to stop them from leaving. The murder was a means to an end. So now it sounds like we got a contradiction on our hands, right? Because if killing as a tool for another goal disqualifies hitmen and gang members from being serial killers, why doesn't it disqualify Dahmer? Why does he still fit squarely in the serial killer category when the murder itself was technically just instrumental for him too? Well, that's where motive becomes more nuanced than just asking whether murder was the final objective. Serial killers often pick victims who represent something to them. Sometimes the victims share an identity that the killer obsesses over. Sometimes it's symbolic. Sometimes it is fetishistic. The point is that the murder springs from within the killer, not from an outside demand or organizational structure. This is why criminologists always emphasize the cooling off period. The killer goes back to regular life for a while. They reset, they plan.
And this is what I be saying, bro. To be a serial killer, you really have to be crazy in the head. Like, all your screws are not screwing right. Bro, because how do you do something like that and then go back to regular life like nothing happened? Like it's a regular Monday. Hell no. Hell no. I feel like I'd be seeing ghosts. Like I would not be able to sleep. Not even just that. I'm going to feel like the FBI is on my back. I can't even go outside without checking my shoulders like this. I'm going to be checking my shoulders so much my neck going to goddamn fall off. So I don't know how they do it, really. Like I don't want that stress. Shit, I got a couple parking tickets I ain't paid, and I feel like they're coming to get me now. So imagine if I was doing what they was doing. Hell nah.
And they fantasize, they rehearse, they return to everyday roles, and then they strike again. The cycle is one of the core pillars of serial murder as a classification. Without that cycle, the entire behavioral model breaks down. Okay, so now let's put that definition in your back pocket for a moment, because we need to talk about an entirely different category of killers. But real quick, before I go any further, hey, welcome to Breakfast Cereal. I'm Josh. If you're new here, welcome. This series is basically me just exploring different questions that pop into my head.
All right, Josh.
read all those comments, and I love it's always interesting. Now, this category of killer is very different. These killings are not driven by an internal fantasy or compulsion. They're driven by external forces, money, orders,
Money is the
loyalty,
biggest one.
territory, fear, retaliation, business disputes. They're embedded in a social system where killing is a tool used for practical purpose. It's grim, it's violent, it's traumatic,
Yeah.
but the
you gotta do
motive
what
is
you gotta do.
instrumental. The killing is a means to an end, not the end itself. See, there's a study that compared hitmen to serial killers published in Psychology Today. Here. It highlighted something crucial. Professional assassins do not select their victims. Kind of obvious, right?
Yeah.
They're given their victims. The motives belong to someone else.
Right.
In serial murder, the killer selects the victim from their own psychological universe. The selection itself is a major component of the gratification. Even within organized crime, like Italian mafia murders, for example, operate on an entirely different principle. They're calculated, they're strategic, they're transactional. A mafia hit is part of a power structure, a hierarchy, a conflict within an economic or political system.
Bro, I could never be in a mafia or a gang, bro. Oh my goodness. Not knowing whether it's your partner gonna set you up any minute, bro. It's so crazy to me. I feel like a lot of this stuff is more psychological than physical. Cause bro, imagine being in constant fear that your right hand man might kill you. Might stab you in your back. Might do this, might do that. On top of that, you gotta worry about your ops. Nah, it's too much, bro. I couldn't do that. Shit. And
These
then
killings
jail,
may be
too.
brutal.
Don't forget about jail.
But they're not committed because the killer has an internal fantasy life that revolves around murder itself. Gangs. Now, this is where things get even more misunderstood. But again, same thing here, folks. Motive and context control the classification. The killings have specific targets, rival gang members, individuals that are already kind of, within that gang or a conflict network.
Yeah.
Or people who threaten that group. The motive is not internal fantasy. It's external survival and allegiance and social identity. And this brings us to one of the most requested examples.
Vaughn.
King Von.
Oh, hey, shout out this editor, bro. You see the way they had Von? That's hard. I ain't gonna lie, that's hard. I might have to, hey, just for that, I'ma subscribe. Just because you had that was hard. I ain't gonna lie.
What? You know I'm the realest, and you know I'm a killer. No.
Every time I mention anything vaguely related to crime,
Y'all
here
mess with
come
Von
the
music, though?
comments. King Von was a serial killer. King Von had multiple bodies. King Von should be classified with Bundy and Gacy. Someone tell me how he is not a serial killer.
That's a stretch.
Okay, so let's take that seriously. Let's actually examine whether King Von fits the definition of a serial killer. First, the factual background. King Von, born Devon Daquan Bennett, was affiliated with the Black
Devon Daquan Bennett. Devon Daquan Bennett. Yeah. He was born to be a statistic, bro. Like, what? Those are two of the blackest names ever, and they just slapped it together, bro. Yeah, nah. Bro was doomed from the start.
Disciples in Chicago. He was charged in violent incidents, involved in alleged gang conflicts, and linked to several homicides through police reports and informants. And he had a documented history in environments where shootings and retaliation were common.
Yeah.
He died at 26
All right.
after being shot during a confrontation in Atlanta. So now ask the question, was he killing out of personal compulsion or fantasy? Or was he participating in a gang conflict where violence is part of the structure? Everything about his documented activity points to the latter. His alleged victims were not random strangers selected to fulfill a personal psychological need. They were rival gang members or individuals.
Look at this picture, bro. This picture don't give y'all nightmares? Seriously, like, this picture don't give y'all nightmares? I'm not going around nobody that look like this. I'm not gonna lie. And I know he's looking up at us right now. Listen. Damn, that's messed up. That's messed up. Okay, let me stop right there. That's messed up.
is tied to a network of ongoing conflict. The motive is group-based, not internal compulsion.
Yeah.
You cannot have a serial killer classification without personal motive, without internal psychological reward, without a cooling off period that exists because the killer has temporarily satisfied a fantasy and is waiting for it to recharge. A study on intermurder intervals, that's a tongue twister, found that serial killers often wait days or months or even years between killings.
How they don't get caught
In the
is
video
crazy.
that I made a while back on mass shooters, I compared that serial killer compulsion to a cigarette. I talked about it in the one React video on Dahmer as well. It's like you have a cigarette and you feel good. The addiction is gone. I feel fine. Well, not really, is it? Just temporarily fulfilled.
That's crazy.
But it's got a half-life. Eventually, that craving starts to build and build again until you have to have another cigarette.
So crazy, bro. That's why I be
But
saying
gang
these people are
violence,
actually
it
sick.
doesn't follow that rhythm at all. It just follows the external, the conflict cycles. Contract killing is something entirely different. A study from Australia analyzing 162 contract killings found that the killers viewed themselves as professionals. They conceptualized the act as a
That's
business
insane.
transaction.
That is insane.
That's the opposite of serial murder. Who cares? When I see someone in the comments say that gang members are serial killers, I get what they're trying to say. They're saying that violence should be taken seriously, that the death count matters, body count matters. They're saying multiple victims are still multiple tragedies. And I agree with you for sure. But classification is not about minimizing. It's about understanding why the violence happens so that we can respond to it, study it, and hopefully prevent it. When law enforcement classifies a case as serial murder, they activate entirely different investigative protocols.
Yeah.
See, they expect the killer to return to a fantasy-driven cycle. Nobody's searching for a fantasy signature or a ritual pattern when they investigate a mob hit. And this is why the distinction matters. If you call a gang killer a serial killer, detectives will run the wrong playbook.
Right.
The wrong classification can literally derail an investigation.
Right.
Serial killers are predators who would kill even if society were safe and stable.
Yeesh.
Gang members exist in environments where killing is part of a larger
Vaughn.
social and economic ecosystem.
Vaughn.
One is internal and the other is external.
Right.
Again. And if you want one final thought, here's mine. When people say King Von was a serial killer, they're not trying to make an academic claim. They're reacting to the number of deaths.
Yeah.
They're just reacting to the violence.
And it's so crazy. It's almost like they be glorifying this dude, bro. Like, yes, he's a serial killer. Yes, he got this many bodies. Almost like y'all glorifying what he did. Bro, no. Like, no. This is not a person. Like, you feel me? This is a... Hey.
But classification is not emotional, it's analytical. It's based on decades of behavioral research. And that is why King Von, mafia hitmen, and gang members do not fall into the serial killer category, no matter how many boxes they seem to check at first glance. The violence is real, the tragedy is real,
Yeah.
but the category is something else entirely.
And that's one more thing. I think that's the end of the video. But one more thing, though. Like, I feel like serial killers are way more dangerous than, like, gang members and all that. Because, you know, serial killers, it's just random. You could be an innocent bystander, and they'll just come kill you. You feel me? A gang member, they're mostly looking for their ops. You know, they're riding around looking for their ops. That doesn't mean innocent bystanders don't get hit in the process sometimes. No, that's not what I'm saying. But their main objective is the ops. They're not worried about you and me and little Jimmy down the street. They don't care about us. A serial killer though, anybody can get it. Anybody can get it. I feel like that's what makes him so dangerous. You really don't know. Nobody is safe. Nobody at all. You feel me? But yeah, let me know what y'all think in the comments, man. That's the end of the video. I'll catch y'all in the next one. Bye.